Yeah, well, my name's Jenny Rees, and I've lived here for about, let me think, 30-something years. And it's been a hell of a time, but you asked me to recall the past, I think, today. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I can only recall, I think, like anyone else, snippets or vignettes, because no one really does remember the 80s very well, or the 90s, early 90s. But one thing I will recall very, very clearly are particularly some characters. One we dubbed Sir Toby Belch. Now, Sir Toby Belch, of course, is a character from an 18th century writer called Smollett, but anyway, that's all by the by. But Sir Toby used to always strip naked and stand on a table in the what was then a gay bar, which is now everybody's bloody bar, you know, they're all, but you know. But he used to stand there naked, and he had the smallest penis in Australia, if not Victoria, I'm sure of it. But he used to consistently and always tell nursery rhymes. And they were all very interesting, sometimes repetitive, but most of the time quite new. And he used to tell nursery rhymes until people, as we are now, getting bored with said nursery rhyme idea, and he used to just stand there and tell the nursery rhymes naked and so on. And when he felt that people weren't paying him enough attention, he'd go into a room, which is now no longer there, a little cupboard, and he used to call him, quite bad, just call him, cross himself and call it a confessional. And go in there, and of course stay in there doing penance, he said. Of course he was ferried many drinks over the evening, and I don't know where he pissed, but we don't want to know that. And anyway, a few times that I recall, but one in particular, he was left there overnight. And we opened the bar in the morning only to find Toby sound asleep, curled up there, going, "Is it time for another drink?" early in the morning. Now, Toby was an interesting character, but I think the most interesting person I can think of was the old teammate, Terry Ann Jackson. And she worked here for many, many a year. She was a drag queen, well, she still is. I hope she's not turned on me or anything. She's living in Adelaide somewhere now. Bunch of people. Huge breasts in a sparkling outfit, and she'd always serve us very quickly and promptly, and she used to, you know, do her thing, but she always was collecting money for some charity, which was always her at the end of the night. You know, there was always some weird charity, and she'd be, well, she went out here in this bar one night, which was a bit of a no man's land. It was full of, you know, and she crims and queens and madness and so on, and she said, you know, donate. And of course she had her nipples poking out of these spangly whatever things. And one chap stupidly, because she used to be, as a young man, she used to be in the circus, and she had phenomenally strong forearms, and one bloke leaned over and he twisted her nipple, and very hard, or even we saw it, and she then punched him, which is, you know, by the plenty of fights there, but the punch was so seriously bad that she knocked out him, his friend, the two women sitting next to him, and then the table fell on them as well. She was an exceptional piece of work. I mean, she was amazing. She'd start a brawl and wander off with her tits poking out of the darkness and the glistening top, and that was Terry.
You didn't have to go anywhere else because the world came to you if you sat in that bar.
Well, that was quite right, but more to the point, it was a bar where people came to life. No matter how insignificant they were, these characters would have their own persona. When they were nothing out in the street, they came into that bar and they were created anew almost, because of course it was just one of those strange places. It was a hothouse, if you like. it was a hothouse of a combination of characters, which were crims, queens, exotics from all over the world. Well, Christine Barrow-Shoe was an interesting one. She used to stand there looking absolutely immaculate, as Christine always does. And I don't know, she didn't know what was coming, but she had a heel backward in laughter, and Neville reefed this bloody Flash, whatever, give me a name, Tokyo Kumagai, someone said in those days it was Flash. Anyway, she picked it, and Neville grabbed her shoe off, poured his beer in there, and he's guzzling it out of her shoe. And of course, well, she wasn't too happy, but it did look good. In the old days over there, for example, that tree's never changed, but there was an old dunny, an old block of toilets. And the Aboriginals that lived around the place, Robbie, who's dead as well, and many of them used to light a campfire every night. And we'd all watch. You were invited over, but you didn't go because out of respect, you just didn't do it. You know, it wasn't cool. Police used to leave them alone fairly much, unless they were killing someone, which could have been on the go if they'd strayed into the wrong area. And that was the island of where the Aboriginal people here used to bloody well hang out. And that's where they had his funeral, by the way, over there. And but that joint over there, it had fire blazing, but I'll never forget the night they had it too high, and the tree started burning as well. The whole lot was on fire, and everyone's just sitting there going, shit, who's going to put it out, you reckon? And in the end, you know, like, I think people just ran over there with buckets and all sorts of things, and so on. I don't know why, but they pulled down the toilet block there for some unknown reason.